when we used video of the group, of the organization, Black Lives Matter, we clearly saw that they were praying to their ancestors and exercising witchcraft. Now, here's the point. The statement Black Lives Matter is 100% correct. The organization is from the pits of hell. Don't care how you stack it. I proved to you last week they were using witchcraft. Do you agree? Did you leave here? No, with no doubt, out their own mouth. We're praying to our dead ancestors to cause this to happen. It's called witchcraft. But she said another thing. And I believe as ministers, trust me, I tried every way in the world not to talk about this today. But I'm going to anyway because he won. You saw me get out my iPad. I'd already flipped over and said, nah, we can't do that today, Lord. We're going to do another one. But I have to say these things, and I want to say them in humility, and I want you to understand them. Actually, they're above my head, and the Lord knows that. So I said, Lord, if you want me to say this, you're going to have to show me how to let revelation come to the people. But folks, there's something much bigger here going on than racial conflict and COVID. There's something much bigger going on. And I showed you last week that it is a spiritual battle. I want to ask you a serious question, though, and that's why I'm standing here. Don't allow the enemy to come in your mind and tell you anything other than what I'm saying. You don't even take my word for what I'm saying. You go pray about it, but let's not have a falling out over it. But what is the greatest threat to this nation right now? See, you could look at it and say, well, COVID-19, civil war, social unrest. I want to tell you the number one threat to America is the ignorance of Christians. Christians who stick their head in the sand and wait for Jesus to come. He's not coming in the clouds, although he does want to come among us. Ignorant Christians with pulpits who stand up and preach self-help material and how great you're going to be and how good you're going to be. When the next few months comes, their churches are going to dry up. Because it's hard in the middle of chaos to tell you God's going to give you $1 million. But if you hear the word today, he very well might give you $1 million in the midst of the chaos if you make him Lord. But ignorance in church is the greatest threat to this nation. And people are not telling the truth. And I'm coming to tell you last week and this week there's something much bigger going on. Do we have a racism problem? Yes. But the people who are doing what they're doing don't want racism fixed. Racism is the tool to get their agenda accomplished. They don't want us to get along, baby. And I'm going to show you why. There is a strategy. There is an agenda. Ignorant Christians. We must not, see, here's the problem. We must not view the Bible only through the lens of America. And most Christians do. Most Christians think if America falls, it means the end of the world, and it does not, baby. That's the first thing you better settle. Christians view everything through our American exceptionalism. America can fall, and that does not mean the world is over and Jesus has come. We're on the verge of falling. And I hope you're hearing me. Many in the church built their whole eschatology on America. America cannot even be found in the book, some people say. You can't base what God's doing on what's going on in America. So I need to help you. I need to establish that for you. God's not American. Make no mistake, America's the greatest land on the face of the earth. And I would stand in a moment and fight for it. That's actually what I'm doing right now. I'm using my sphere of influence to fight for America. But the end of America does not mean the end of the world. America can fall. And it likely will if ignorance and passivity prevail. If we keep having these sweet little services where we sing Kumbaya and pass the plate, and we don't want to be we're trying to be politically correct, and we have pulpits that are not speaking truth, it's going to fall. I didn't sign up for it. I was chosen for it. And I have no idea what the Lord is going to have me do. But I've told you before, some of the messages that I'm speaking to you, I full well know they don't necessarily belong just here. But all I can do is be faithful where I am. But you need to understand your eschatology is not based on America. Ephesians 6 through 10. Now this is where we began last week. Get out of here. It says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. Ephesians 6:10. Finally be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the full armor of God so that you will be able to stand firm against the schemes of the devil. The schemes of the devil. The schemes of the devil. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood. See, it's not blacks and whites fighting each other. It's not Democrats and Republicans fighting each other. This is a spiritual battle, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but it's against the rulers, the powers, against the world forces of this darkness. It's against spiritual forces of wickedness in heavenly places. So I proved to you last week that what's going on in America was not a natural battle, but a spiritual battle, because we have the leaders of the organization practicing witchcraft, which makes it spiritual, right? So we cannot be ignorant of the fact that the battle is a spiritual one. The founder made it clear. That's why I played it for you. She said, I see this as spirituality. And she made clear the use of witchcraft. 2 Corinthians 2:11 says this, though. So that no advantage would be taken of us by Satan, for we are not ignorant of his schemes. We see in Ephesians, when we're talking about spiritual warfare and being strong in the Lord and putting on the armor, that we would be able to withstand against the schemes of the enemy. But then in 2 Corinthians 2:11, it shows us we should not be ignorant of his schemes. So what I've come to do today is not teach you about politics, but teach you about the scheme. There's a scheme. And because I actually hate racism so bad, it's one of the things that really riles me up. Because I see a legitimate problem in America that needs fixed, and the church is the only one that can fix it. But I see an organization and a group of people using racism to advance an anti-God agenda. Are you hearing me? But they're operating in a strategy that goes well beyond us. Now, you can go look all this stuff up. That's not the purpose. I don't do this very often, but I'm going to give it straight to you like I studied it. And you go check it out. But I'm not giving it to you to educate you. I want you to hear it so that you can see and tie it in to the spiritual thing that's going on in the nation. It's not politics. It's a spiritual thing that's going on. And if we keep it in the political arena, we'll probably end up voting for the devil, actually. There's something bigger going on here. We have to take it out of the flesh and blood arena, and that means even who's running for president. I can't base my decision on flesh and blood. So now I want to show you the schemes. I want to show you a scheme that's going on behind the scenes. And I hope when I go back years ago and show you things that were written in order to bring about change in a nation and move it towards socialism, I want you to open your eyes and you'll see every bit of it happening in front of you. They created this problem with race. They wanted the problem with race. They don't want racism to be over because it's a tool in their hand to bring about change. Not racial change. Socialism. Communism. I'm going to show it to you. Don't fall out with me. I love you. You love me. If you don't believe it, it's okay. But I won't stand before God for whether you believe me or not. I'll stand before God for whether I told you or not. You need to understand that that's what's going on here. I'm not on Trump's train, nor nobody's train. I'm on the Holy Ghost train. You need to understand that. But there are some things that cannot be ignored, and ministers in the pulpits must let their people know, or they will stand before God. And so last week I made it clear to you that the organization and things that are going on is about witchcraft. Well, now I'm going to show you that it's about advancing an agenda. And so what you have to understand, now last week, the reason I'm going here is this founder of BLM said, I'm saying more than I should, but we pray to our ancestors and we believe it's spiritual and we're operating in witchcraft and we're invoking our ancestors to help us win this battle. Did she say it? But what'd she say first? She said, we are Marxist. She said it first. Our strategy is a Marxist strategy. But guess what? Some of you get on Google and you know, but most of the church don't know what that means. So my only intent today is to show you what it means so you can open your eyes and see that's exactly what's going on. The rioting in America is not about angry people. It's about people being paid and bussed in to act angry to make a change. And racism is still going on because it's still in the church, and the church is the only one that can fix it. Are you hearing me? So she made it clear we're Marxists. Now let's look at some things. Karl Marx was a German political philosopher famous for the Communist Manifesto. His goal was to move government into communism. Meeting adjourned. Did she say on the video, we're Marxist? What was he known for? Moving toward communism. Black Lives Matter and racism is sin, but the BLM movement's agenda is to bring about socialism and communism and create chaos on the streets to get it done. The greatest threat to all of it is a church that's racially diverse. Because we lock arms and do our fighting on our knees. Hello? So she said we're Marxists. That means we think socialism and communism is the way to go. Now see, I'm not making this up. You heard it. If you weren't here, I can let you hear it. So that was the goal. And so he wrote a book called The Communist Manifesto. And the foundation, it's the foundation for leftist countries like the Soviet Union. I've had the benefit of going to Lithuania, who was under Soviet control. Guess what I saw? No creativity at all. Every building looked the same. Why was it? Right here. That was the agenda. So his goal was to change society and using any means necessary to arrive at a certain form of government. This is why it makes me so mad, because I hate racism. And I don't like it. I don't like division being used to advance an agenda, a satanic agenda. He's considered the father of the social conflict theory, which seeks to ignite tensions. The whole thing was based on causing a conflict between the haves and the have-nots. Now, I grew up in the coal fields of West Virginia. And guess what I heard all my life? Democrats, son, are for poor people. And Republicans, son, are for rich people. And we have a worldview that separates the haves and the have-nots. So we begin to hate people with money. Baby, I ain't ever got a dime from a broke person. Not a dime have I got from a broke person. But there's this whole philosophy of attacking those who have money. Okay? So what we want to do is pay people at McDonald's $15 an hour. You know what you did? You just unemployed them. Because people at McDonald's, that's a starting position. It's not a life position. But see, they want you to stay at McDonald's. Because if you use McDonald's as a learning curve and you go start your own business, you'll quickly figure out that you don't have the same belief because you want to keep as much of your money as you can. Haves and have-nots. They demonize people with money. They cause you to demonize the company you work for, and you badmouth the company you work for, knowing good and well they're paying your bills, dummy. What if they shut down? Evil, evil business owners. Haven't you noticed on the streets they're destroying businesses? And the thing that just rubs me the wrong way, oh, so we're out here doing all this because of the racial divide. Why did you destroy multiple hundreds of black business owners and put them out of business for life? Why'd you do it? It wasn't about that. Y'all still got my hot dog ready for Jill? See, the goal's the change of society. And some of us in the church have a heart to see the racial divide fixed. Our agenda is not to change society into communism and socialism. It's to act like the body of Christ, where white brother and black brother and brown brother all walk together in unity to change the earth. But if the church remains ignorant and thinks that it's just a racial issue and just a political issue, we miss it. And so he wanted to separate everything between the haves and have-nots. I'm skipping these nice big words for you and just making it as plain as I could, but he separated it in between capitalism and it starts with a P. That's all I'm going to say. And everything was viewed, the world view everything was viewed through the haves and the have-nots. And the haves are trying to keep under the have-nots. That's not it. See, they wanted to. It's the goal to destroy capitalism. And if you go to college, they'll fill your head full of this junk. You can become what you want to in America. Now, one of the ways that this is done is people have practiced racism in the marketplace and calls people, and then along comes this agenda to make you think that you cannot achieve greatness. Folks, unless I'm mistaken, we had a black president. Hello? Well, it's a nice, beautiful day. So where I really want to go, I'm going to skip through these fast because I want to get to really where I want to go. But Marx, now here's the first thing where you're going to see it. What he taught was, in order to advance this agenda, he taught that first thing that must happen is total annihilation of all opposition. Have you ever seen such a fiasco that you're seeing right now? Have you not said, see, all I'm doing is filling in the lines for you. Have you not said, I have never seen anything like this in my life? I have never seen this mean, vicious thing going on, trying to completely destroy somebody. The woman said, we're Marxists. What does it mean to be Marxist? It means to totally destroy and annihilate anyone who opposes you. Sounds a lot like church. Are you getting this? That's what I want you to see. I'm trying to get you to see the agenda. It's not Democrat, Republican. It's not political. It goes back way before our current leaders. But see, they were educated by this and studied it, and they're using the tactics while the church thinks it's about politics. No, there's more than politics. So he came up with 10 things. It's not where I want to focus my attention. But you can begin to see these things happening. Abolition of property and land. The government needs to own all the property. Guess what number 2 is? Guess what number 2 is? There has never been, and please don't get mad at me, vote the way you want. There's never been a Democrat that wasn't for higher taxes. Right now, if you go and look at everyone, we're going to raise taxes. We're going to raise taxes. But see, what they're covering it in is, because we love you, and we want these poor people to do better, and we need to get more money from these rich people. What did I tell you Mark said? You got to separate society and make the haves and the have-nots have conflict with each other. Number 2 on the list was a heavy and progressive or graduated income tax. Take more of the people's money. That's how you advance the agenda, raise taxes. Now, unless you're living under a rock, I can't help it. The truth's the truth. When you lower taxes, jobs flourish. Before they used this pandemic to advance their agenda, the unemployment rate was the lowest it had ever been in history. And need you get into the racial thing, the black unemployment rate is the lowest it's ever been in history. The Hispanic unemployment rate is the lowest it's ever been in history. That didn't come from raising your taxes. It come from lowering them and allowing the have to hire more people. I'm just trying to make it plain, because I don't think some people get it. You let a businessman keep more of his money, he's going to hire somebody. You take more of his money, he's going to fire somebody. But yeah, we got to raise taxes. You got to raise taxes. Why? Because it fits the Marxist theology. Because what we ultimately want to get to is the government controlling everything. Might be my last sermon today. Abolition of all right of inheritance. Part of that strategy is to tax you. Your daddy was taxed on his income. He was already taxed on his property, and when he dies, he can't give it to you without being taxed high on it again. Why is that? Because they don't want you to get it. They want to take it over. No inheritance. Why? Because they want the government to take that over. Confiscation of property. Anybody been to the store and they say, we ain't got no change in here? Shortage of change. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Kevin's car wash don't know nothing about it because it kept spitting out quarters at me. And they were bright, shiny, and fresh, baby. And you can go to the bank and get a bunch of rolls of quarters too, baby. But see, part of Marx's agenda was the centralization of credit in the hands of the state. A national bank with a state capital where the government's the one determines where you get money. The government is right now determined whether or not you get quarters. See, I'm trying to get you to see there's more going on here than a racial battle. There's more going on here than the pandemic. I'm not a conspiracy person. Never have been. But you make up your own mind. Have you already seen what I'm saying? This was written in the 1800s. And along came some politicians that soaked themselves in it and believed it and read it, and they've been trying to operate in it ever since. And it's coming to a head in America right now. And the rioting and the using of racism and all of that is designed to cause it to happen. I love you. You love me. We're a happy family. Oh, it's Barney. I love you. You love me. I should have sang that before I started. We're a happy family with a great big hug and a kiss from me to you. Won't you say you love me too? Oh, glory. But here's really where I want to get to, because I want you to see this now. In the more modern era, see, we're talking 1800s here, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go back up here. We're talking 1800s. Do you see why, as a minister, I have the responsibility to tell you this? You have to see that something is going on other than what you're seeing with your eyes. Somebody's pushing the buttons to get this to happen. And the goal is to change the government of America into a communist socialist mindset. And the woman over BLM told you clearly, I am a Marxist, which means I want communism. You can put lipstick on a pig. You can do whatever you want. You can shape it any way you want to shape it. But when you say that, that's what you mean. And so we're going to subscribe to these strategies to get to that point. Now, in the more modern era, we had a man named Saul Alinsky. And he was in Chicago. And though he never called himself a Marxist, his goal was the same, to cause a fight between the haves and the have-nots so that we could advance the government controlling everything. Are you hearing me? And he wrote a book. And I'm going to share his strategy, because what's going on in the modern-day Democratic Party is following his strategy to the letter. Don't take my word. I'm going to show you what he said, and then I want you to turn on your news and watch it happen. Barack Obama said what? We're going to fundamentally change America. And so many people said, oh, yes, that's great. Woo! No, what he was saying was, yeah, we're going to fundamentally change it. We're going to get rid of capitalism so that we can begin to progress this. I know I'm going to make you mad, but get over it. Go research it yourself. I love you. You love me. And so here's the reality. Both Hillary Clinton and there's this man named Saul Alinsky. Both Hillary Clinton and Obama studied and bathed themselves in his teaching, because what he taught was how to bring this about, how to create chaos in a city. Hello? How to stir up the have-nots so they begin to be violent and riot against the haves. That's what it was. And both of those previous presidents were disciples of his. Hello. So how did we get to the point that we are in America now? It began then. We started moving toward it. We started. And along comes baby Bernie. Feel the burn, baby. Bernie promised you everything. The government's going to take care of you. You won't have no student debt. You're all going to have health care. Because he loves you. He's such a loving man. No, baby. The Bible clearly says the borrower is slave to the lender. And when somebody can control whether or not you get food or money, they got you. That was the agenda. It's not because they love you and want to give you stuff. No, they want to give you stuff so they can control you. Anybody who gives you stuff can control you. Hello! I feel good on the inside. It's not about politics. It's about an agenda. It's about a spirit. And because we have an entitlement mentality in America, guess what happens? Ooh, they're promising free stuff. I'm voting for him. You just destroyed your country, because when you run out of other people's money, there is no more money. Look around the earth. Venezuela was one of the richest countries in the world till it shifted to using other people's money, and now it's dead broke. And that's the agenda that's being pushed in America right now, and using the racial divide and the pandemic to get it done. So, there's a group in this country that have continued to move toward this. Now, I want to spend some time telling you now. Oh, I'm so good. Nah, not really. I need to be 10 minutes ahead. Now, this is what Alinsky said. Listen. And so I got to get you to see why the church must pray. This is not about politics. This is not about race. The church has to fix racism. They don't want to fix it. They need it to advance this. They need chaos in the streets of America. Wait till November. And it's and then in the mix of it is black people and white people who love each other and want to walk together. And if they're not careful, they get sucked right into this. Over the next 90 days, we need to find every way in the world we can to get into racial reconciliation and pray together and have a relationship together so we disband the strategy of the enemy here. Now, here's what Alinsky says. A Marxist begins with his prime truth that all evils are caused by the exploitation of the haves and the have-nots. Every problem in society comes back to the evil people who have lording over the people who have not. But see, that's not America. Should I pull up stories for you of people who grew up in total poverty and are wealthy? There's plenty. And they're not just white either. See, this agenda does not hate anything on earth worth than it hates a successful, rich black person. They hate it. They don't want you to prosper. It messes with the agenda if you prosper. But yet there's all kinds that have owned businesses. People like Herman Cain and those kinds of people started broke. They had the same opportunity. But everything comes back to fighting between the haves and the have-nots. Now, here's some things I want you to see. The belief is there is no fixed truth. Everything is relative and changing. Well, who are you to say homosexuality is sin? Well, maybe not. I mean, it just depends on my situation. The agenda is based on there is no fixed truth. Everything is relative. And in Alinsky's strategy of advancing Marxism, he says the tactics were not based on Stalin. They were based on another man called Gramsci. And here was his strategy. And we've been. Do you know America's been like the frog in the hot water for years now? Because the politicians studied this man and what he said to do to bring the change. And what he said was this. He didn't believe in going out and having a bloody battle and all that stuff. He said do it gradually. So subtle that few even notice the deliberate changes. America has been gradually moving. And what you see right now is the gradual has stopped. I'm going to show you why in a minute. It's all part of a plan. I'm not capable of really explaining this as good as I'd like to, but I hope I give you enough for you to know. Do you see that? Now, guess what? Okay, now look at it. In California, or in Las Vegas, it was okay to go gamble. But you couldn't come to church and sing. True or not? Did I make it up? John MacArthur's church was shut down. They said you can do everything, but you can't sing. You can't preach. We don't want your breath going out because it could cause COVID. Right? Are you hearing me? I'm trying to let you see what's going on. And this was written years ago. The strategy was written years ago, and now you have people who are politicians who have bathed themselves in this theology, and they're trying to work it to come to pass, and they're doing a good job. Unless you wake up. Unless pulpits in America begin to tell their people, here's what's really going on. So look at it now. So we shut down John MacArthur's church. We've shut down churches all over America. That wasn't enough. We shut down another one in Louisiana. You've seen that Baptist minister. They've now fined him $52,000 for having church in America. I wonder why they're doing that for. Are the things related? This was Saul Alinsky. His tactics, listen, the primary assault to advance this agenda, the primary assault would be on biblical absolutes and Christian values, which must be crushed as a social force before the new face of communism could rise and flourish. The first thing you got to do is shut the church up. Would to God, not on my watch. You can say it's about a pandemic all you want to. It's the agenda to squash the voice of the church. Put your mask on because we don't really want to hear your voice. It's perfectly fine if you want to wear a mask. It's good. If you got issues, you should. But that's not the agenda. Did you hear what I just told you? You must squash religious beliefs and Christianity while you go punch that little D button come election day and you feel good about it. There's an agenda to destroy Christianity. Did you hear what I said? The primary assault would be to get rid of biblical absolutes, because nothing is absolute. It just depends on how you feel. Then we have an issue called means and ends. We've always heard of this. The end justifies the means, okay? But this philosophy believes that you forget all moral or ethical considerations in order to get what you want. It doesn't matter. Ethics don't matter. You do whatever you got to do to get what you want. Hello? Even use racism as a tool to incite people and stir people up if that's what it takes. The end always justifies the means. Success or failure is mightily determinant of ethics. In other words, your ethics are determined by whatever it takes for you to win. If you got to burn cities to win, do it. If you got to lie to win, do it. Hello? I didn't make this up. It's already written. But see, some people are following it. Are you seeing that they are following it? The 10th rule that he had. You do what you can with what you have, but you clothe it with moral garments. Oh, we love people, and that's why we want to make sure all their needs are met. And no, baby. You come out on the stage and you talk about how you just want to help people. Clothe it in moral garments. Pretend that you really give when you don't, so that they will believe you and follow you. Tell them you want them to have a wonderful life and sing Kumbaya and give them everything they want. Fake them out. That's what it said. But clothe it with moral garments. Even stand in a pulpit and preach. Hello, I ain't going to name names. Boy, I want to. Stand in a pulpit and preach. Clothe it in moral garments. Guess what the next strategy of his was? See, I'm trying to tell you that the people that you have in office have studied this, and it's what they're doing. Are you seeing so far? It's what they're doing. Guess what the number one thing you need to do is? According to him, not me. Create conflict. Get people fighting in the streets. Promote racism. Conflict is the bloodline of this movement. We don't want you to get along. We need the conflict. Please hear me as a man who loves you. We need the conflict. We want to keep it going. He said he knows that all new ideas arise from conflict. You create great conflict and let the government come in and you want the people to, you want an uprising. You need the conflict. Hello, people. I could quit now. Wonder why they don't want the National Guard to come in. Because it'll squash it like a bug, and we need it. It advances our agenda. We need this conflict. And the church needs to wake up with this racial mess and stop the nonsense. We need to get on our faces together and get in the throne room together, black, white, yellow, Hispanic. We need to come together and say no to the nonsense. We need to not take the agenda. Am I okay today? The next thing you have to do is communicate based on manipulation. Hello? You use communication to manipulate. Well, 4,000 more died today. Oh my God, it's spreading like wildfire. What's on your news? Every stinking day. Communication. That's not true. Do you understand that fear is far greater? The results of fear in America are far greater than this pandemic. But it's part of the agenda to communicate in a manipulative way to manipulate the little people like sheep to make you think. I forget what, there's actually a 0.1% of you dying from COVID. Now, again, I don't mean to, we've lost people to COVID. I'm not at all trying to belittle that. But you know how many people had the flu last year? Last year! I'm talking about 2019 to 2020, over 50-some million. We didn't post it on TV every day. We didn't say this person got pneumonia because they had the flu. You have to use communication to manipulate the people to move them toward conflict. Hello? Oh, I need another place to preach. Now, you use manipulation. Now, let me show you this. Lord, the time's running. I have always believed. Now, here's what Alinsky said. Here's his example. I'm talking about manipulation. Manipulation is witchcraft. See, how is this working? You draw the black people together and say, white people hate you. They don't like you. You need to rise up against them. That's not true. Are there some that hate you? Yes. Well, guess what? You lock arm in arm with me and let's both go kick them in the seat of the pants. But don't buy into the mess. Don't buy into what's going on here. Manipulation. Now watch how he said to manipulate. If you have good relationships, you got to build relationship with people. You got to act like something you're not to get them to like you. Then you pull out your agenda. That's what he said. Watch here. He said, for example, I've always believed that birth control and abortion are personal rights to be exercised by the individual. In my early years, when I organized neighborhoods in Chicago with 95% Roman Catholic, I tried to communicate this even through the experience of the residents whose economic plight was aggravated by large families. That would have been the end of my relationship with the community. In other words, if I'd have went to a place that was 90-some% Catholic and told them I was for abortion, they would have distanced me. So I had to pretend for a while. Till they started liking me. And once they started liking me, I could go ahead and say, well, you know, I'm for this and I'm for that. It's the agenda. That's what he said. That instant I would have been done. But he says years later, after establishing solid relationships, I was free to talk about anything. Lying, deceiving, manipulating. Acting like you're something you're not. That's how this agenda works. I'm I'll give you a few more. I want you to, are you seeing that this really is going on? This is not something made up by the far right Republicans. Fear not, I'm neither Democrat nor Republican. You've got to produce power to bring about these changes. The end justifies the means, and here's the thing. You have to create a mass power base of what he calls an army. You got to get an army together. Are you seeing it? So you got to work it over time and start to build your army, and then at some point you're all going to come out into the light. Welcome to 2020. Change comes from power, so you've got to begin to build this army to get the power. Have you ever seen such a time of chaos in America? Some of you have because you're older than me, but I haven't. I missed it all. I was born after all the Vietnam trouble and all that demonstrations. Well, man, it's total chaos right now. Do you know why? The first step is community disorganization. All change means disorganization of the old. You have to start stirring things up. You have to start causing chaos. No, we're not causing chaos because we want to see the racial divide healed. We're causing chaos and disorganization so that we can advance this agenda. I'm not making this up. He said it. Disorganization. Community disorganization. You got to incite people up and get them stirred up. And this is why I hate it so bad. The Bible says that God hates those who cause strife and stir up strife between brothers. So you want to win the election enough to cause blacks and whites to fight each other. You don't really care about their lives, their souls, or their families. You just need to use them as a tool and cause them to be divided against one another. See, that's why the church must stand up and not allow this. An organizer has to stir up dissatisfaction. Have you turned on the news lately? All I'm trying to do, folks, is tell you these things are not happening organically. They're planned. Now, here's what hurts my heart. Probably 30% of the people who are doing marching and doing these things are there because they have been racially mistreated, and they honestly do want to fix that. But they don't understand that 70% of those people got paid by George Soros to be bussed in to start to do this so this agenda can be advanced. Now, if we could find the 20 to 30% that really have been hurt by racial injustice, and we could lock our arms together and come together, we could destroy this thing. But the group doesn't want to destroy it. It's part of the tool to advance the agenda. You're not supposed to say these things in church, are you? You got to cause conflict. You got to cause dissatisfaction. Now here, the first job of somebody who wants to create change and organize change is to create issues or problems. And along came COVID-19, which is a legitimate thing. But, hey, let's use this. We've been given a gift, fellas. We've been given a gift. Let's use this for all these tactics. Let's scare the hell out of the people. Let's make them think the world's falling and they're all going to die so that they follow right along like little sheepies. Bah. Let's tell them the world's going to end so they don't go to church no more. Let's tell them that the pandemic spreads when you sing. Let's fine them $52,000 for having church. Let's take their parking lot, John MacArthur, that he's had for 40 years. Let's take it from him so he ain't got nowhere to park. Because we love people. No, honey. No. You got to create issues and problems. You got to rub raw the resentments of the people. God, that breaks my heart. You got people who have legitimately been wounded and there's racial issues in their life, and you come along out of manipulation and witchcraft and you start rubbing that in them. This is why the church must get its head out of the sand. If we allow that to go on, it's going to go on. One of the things, I don't know who would show up, but one of the things that could destroy this thing quick is a bunch of white people washing the feet of their black neighbors. No, we're not buying into the Alinsky model. We're not buying into Marxism. We operate in kingdom. So sit down and let me bow myself at your feet and let me serve you. I'm not expecting you to serve me. I'm going to serve you. Now come on. That's how you annihilate this thing. He said you got to search out controversy. Ooh, I think we got a good one here, fellas, in this pandemic. I think it's, let's capitalize on this. Is it real? Do people die from it? Yes. But is it being used as an agenda? Are they capitalizing on controversy? Are they searching out controversy? Yes. You must stir up dissatisfaction in the people. Hello. Now let me give you these 8 points, which some of you have seen. He wrote another book called The Useful Idiots. And we are them. But I've come to awaken the idiots. I've come to keep you from being an idiot. Here's what you do to make this come about. Now pay attention. 8 things. Number 1 is health care. If you control health care, you control the people. Obamacare, Obamacare. Oh, no, we just want to take care of people. No, the first step is to control health care. Because if they can't get a shot when they need a shot, I didn't make it up, it's there. Control health care. Well, sir, go get this vaccine, or you can't go to the grocery store. Hello? You got to control health care. You got to get everybody under the same health care so that the government can now determine whether you live or die. And when they determine when you live or die, you can't argue too much, can you? Please don't get offended at me. That's what Obamacare was about. Right now, the people that are running for office, the phrase they're using is they want Medicare for all. Medicare is for old people, whom I'm soon to be one of. And Medicare probably helped me out a little bit. But if you give Medicare to all and let the government take care of all health care, then the old people ain't going to have no Medicare because it's going to go broke. And you won't be able to get surgery or any of that. You got to control the health care. Number 2, poverty. Increase the poverty level as high as possible. Poor people are easier to control and will not fight back if you are providing everything for them to live. Shut down the greatest economy in America and make them dependent upon the government. Start sending checks from the government to the tune of trillions of dollars. Let them know that your government loves you and cares for you when you're the one who shut the economy down to start with. It was the greatest economy in the history of the world till along came a pandemic that was used in the hands of people with this agenda. It's truth, folks. I don't care whether you like it or not. It's truth. It was the greatest economy in history. But you got to create poverty so that people become beholden to the government. My government loves me. It sent me a check. Are you seeing it? Number 3, debt. How do you take over a nation? Nancy Pelosi. We just spent trillions of dollars. And guess what? That party stopped any more money from being sent because they wanted it to be much more. Why? Why do they want to drive America into trillions and trillions of dollars of debt, baby? Hello? Debt is key. Have you not noticed we spend $5 trillion here and we'll spend $3 more trillion there and we'll spend these trillions? It ain't because they love you. Debt is key to advance the agenda. Increase the debt to an unsustainable level. Have you not been seeing that for years? Unsustainable. We're broke. America's broke. Dead broke. But we're still spending. We want to spend another $5 trillion today. So, increase the debt to an unsustainable level so that you can increase taxes and produce more poverty. Because if you're in poverty, the government takes care of you. And we want the government to take care of you, so we got to get you into deeper poverty so that the government can take care of you. Can I just go here for a little bit? I told you last week, it's true. Democrats don't care anything about black people until election time. They want they want the black community to stay in housing projects and stay on welfare because it's a guaranteed vote. It has been a guaranteed vote. But I pray and prophesy an awakening to begin to come that the government is not your friend and you will stay in poverty until you realize that God made you and gave you capability to own businesses and houses and land. Poverty is the tool. That's why we give you more money when you have kids out of wedlock. This is a big plight in America. A story for another day. Just go out and have babies and we'll keep giving you money. And you stay in poverty and they stay in poverty rather than giving you an education so you can start a business and do what you need to do with your life. It's an agenda. A couple more. Welfare. I already hit that. Take control of every aspect. You got to take care of their food, their housing. Let the government take care of you, Mr. Bernie. Feel the burn. We're going to give it all to you free. Yeah, so we can control you. Education. Take control of what people read and listen to. Take control of what children learn in school. They've completely changed what's going on in school. See, they're now promoting this in school. They're causing kids before they get to junior high to already believe that this is the right way to go. That your government is evil and people with money are evil. They're already promoting the haves and the have-nots. They're already saying the government loves you and the evil business owners hate you. You got to change education. Religion. Remove the belief in God from the government and schools. I didn't make it up, folks. It's in the book. It was written years ago. Get religion out of the government and out of the school. Can you see the agenda and how long we've been moving here? Now you've got Joe Biden. We need to teach Islam in every school. But we can't teach the Word of God. I thought we needed to get religion out of school. No, we just need to get the one true religion out of school and then fill their head full of a bunch of garbage. It's okay to do that because it fits the agenda. Last thing, class warfare. Again, we're back to it. You got to divide the people into the wealthy and the poor. You got to cause people that have money or people that don't have money to hate people who do. You don't get a job from a broke man. You won't get a loan from a broke man. This is one of the greatest causes of poverty. Don't hate people with money. Make a meeting with them and sit down and get them to teach you how. But see, the agenda makes you want to fight. Makes the haves and have-nots. Oh, that's an evil business owner. And see, it didn't matter that they destroyed tons of black businesses while they were rioting for and against racism. You don't believe me? Go look at it. They totally ran people, destroyed people's businesses. They'll never come back. And they weren't white. But you tell me. Now see, here's the thing. I'm going to leave you with this. 30% of those people were marching. Marching is good. Protesting is good. Destroying property is not. And so you have 30% of people that really have been racially mistreated, and they're standing up for that. But you got 70% paid $15 an hour, most likely, bust in by George Soros to destroy people's businesses, whether it's black, white, Hispanic, it don't matter. Let's just go create havoc. It's a fact, folks. Wherever there's rioting, they come in buses. How do you think they got there? It's this agenda. And guess what? They're not even people who live in the community. But the people who live in the community that honestly do want to see racial issues and those kinds of issues fixed, they're there marching and getting swamped right in the middle of this. And now you're starting to see on the streets some of them combating and say, hey, it's not what we're here for. Do you think Martin Luther, what would he say? What would Martin Luther King Jr. say? Did he do this? Did he destroy people's property? Did he protest? Yes. You have every right to do that. But see, the destruction is coming from this agenda. The desire is not to fix it. So anyway, there you have it. And I'm saying this to you for one reason. I believe I'll stand before God for not saying it to you. And this is not a Republican preacher telling you this. I never read a thing that came from a Republican. These are books that have been written years ago. And there are people who are following that and planning it and using the tools. And we better wake up. Let's not buy into this racial mess. Let's heal racism. Let's wash each other's feet. Let's become the light and the example